House hacking. I'm excited to jump into this topic. It's something that I talk about a whole lot, and it's something I try to live, right? I'll give a very, very brief synopsis of house hacking, and then I'll talk about, what you can do when you're done having to move every year, or when you're in a situation kind of like me where your wife's just done and you want to settle down. So let's jump right into that. With house hacking, the essential gist of it is you buy a house, you live there for a year or two, or however long you want to live there, and then you rent out the home and then buy another one and rent, buy, rent, buy, rent, buy, rent. Rinse and repeat until you really don't want to do it anymore is the bottom line. So with that, you're probably wondering, well, what's the end goal? The end goal depends on what you're looking at. So very, very basic. Some folks just decide to ride the wave. You buy those houses. Once you buy enough, then you just let them pay themselves off. You let the rents cover it. And then you live in a very, very low leverage world, ride it out, and then you're done, right? But let's pretend you're there. You have 5 or 6 different properties. You've been playing the game for about 10 years. You have a good amount of equity accumulated in them, and you want something more to do. You want something where your rate of return is going to be higher. The numbers just make more sense doing something else. And that's where you trade up. What does trading up look like? It really depends on, again, what you want to get into. But if you wanted to put them all into something and maybe buy an 8-plex or buy a 10-plex or buy a 12-plex or buy a 20-plex, where you buy something that you're going to have a little bit more leverage and then your internal rate of return is going to be higher by doing something like that. That's what I think my next move is going to be. And that's what I think the next move could play out pretty well for a number of different people. So with that, you have to decide what's going to make the most sense for you or not. This is a more complicated move, so it's very important that you're working with someone who knows how to do that, who knows how to make those transitions. Frankly, if you have someone who's going to be selling those properties and selling a bunch of them on the agent side, I think they should give you a discount for selling a bunch of your properties. So those are a couple of things you want to look at if you're making that transition. The other thing is you want to analyze that property super well, right? Over the past 10 years, you've probably spent a good amount of time analyzing the properties that got you to where you are. So you want to be very careful to make sure that whatever you're betting into is going to play out very well, right? You want to look at your cap rates. You want to look at your maintenance. You want to look at, I could do a full another video on what you want to look at there. But long story short, you want to look at all those details and then buy that property. And once you've bought that property and made the transition, you're going to see, my internal rate of return is much better. My cash on cash return is much better. If it's all in one complex, maybe I hire a property manager and now I'm no longer having to manage all those properties and run all that. And again, everyone has to decide what's going to work best for them. But for me, my end goal of house hacking is just to take all those properties, sell them off, and then buy something bigger that's going to be lower maintenance so we have more freedom, right? And with that freedom, you can do whatever you want to do and live your life however you want to live it because you now have the money and the capital to make that work. So that to me is the end goal of house hacking. You have to decide what's going to work best for you and then move forward with that. But if you guys are curious to see what properties you can roll into or what's going to make sense there, feel free to reach out. We can talk about it and go over all those numbers. Thanks so much and have a good one, guys.